It's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. Welcome to my takeout, my Emil Amok's takeout. My takes on all things considerable, right? If you're watching the markets, I haven't been watching the markets as closely as, I haven't watched it this closely since the days that I was actively day trading. I no longer do that because I learned my lesson that that's a fool's errand. That and this has been proven. You go into an index fund, you put your money, you forget it, just let it go. They've shown that if Donald Trump had done that with all the money he inherited, he'd be like a billionaire several times over. But people, ADHD and all that, they want to like day trade and profit and bag something. And anyway, I've been looking at the market and it's just bad. I don't know what the estimate is today, but after the first 2 days of tariff talk, of trade war talk, we're at what, 6 trillion, almost 7 trillion more today. There was a slight blip of green, and it was because someone had posted a fake news article that maybe there would be a pause in the tariffs while there was negotiate. And no, Donald Trump says, no, there's not going to be a pause. He said it, and he had a long, rambling press conference, an on-again, off-again press conference. It wasn't going to happen. Benjamin Netanyahu is in because he wants no tariffs on Israel. Netanyahu's a friend, and this is going to be a kind of a model for all people who want to be friendly to this administration or to the United States. Follow Netanyahu, and the world will be good, right? It's just like the way that Donald Trump is dealing with universities and big law firms and media companies. Bend to my will, and everything is all right. Except, what if he's wrong, right? What if he's wrong? I mean, he says there's not going to be any pause, so who knows what's going to happen tomorrow on the markets? But it likely is not going to be good because people are seeing that, this isn't just a strategy. This guy's for real. And I mean, even people who back Donald Trump. Bill Acker, the billionaire, the Harvard guy, the billionaire hedge fund guy, is now saying, prepare for nuclear winter. He's sounding like he's backing away from the guy he backed, Donald Trump. Acker's I guess he's conservative, right? He backed Trump, or is he a money guy? But he's on Harvard's board, and he's kind of wrecked the school as well. Because no matter what kind of placating was done, Donald Trump's still going after Harvard and all the universities and asking them to bend to his will. So maybe Acker got a little stronger and said, hey, prepare for nuclear winter. This is going to be bad. Which means he's going on the downside. He's short selling. I guess if the market's going down, remember, you can make money both sides, right? You can bet it going down. You can bet it going up. If you're a positive guy, you say, I want it to go up. But if it's going down and it's showing you it's going down, well, I guess you take the ride down. Ride down Trump's golden escalator and short the market. I guess. I mean, I'm not in it. I'm just saying this as someone who's had some experience in the past, a long time ago. I'm not really in the market, aside from, like institutional things like, 401ks, that kind of thing. And I'm even out of that. I'm not even, my pension is in a 401k, I'm sure, or not a 401k, but in some kind of market instrument. But people handling that, they're probably, buying bonds. So if you're looking at the market, but the market is telling the truth. The market, what you do with the market information is your fault, right? Or your, that's up to you. But the market is showing what the mass psychology is on the trade war, that generally it's a bad thing, and it's not going to get better. According to Trump, he's not pausing, although he's saying he's pausing, but he's negotiating too. Come on and negotiate with me. This is just Donald Trump's deranged way of dealing with reality, right? And of course, he gave this rambling press conference, with Netanyahu during Netanyahu's visit in the Oval Office, and it was strange to hear him justify his actions, saying things like, "Oh, people asked him about NAFTA. People asked him about," and then the trade agreement that came, the North American agreement that came after, right, with Canada and Mexico. And he said, "Yeah, that was good." And remember, he was the one who said NAFTA was bad. A lot of people, even Democrats, liberals, didn't like NAFTA. And the new agreement was signed by Trump. The new agreement was signed by Trump. But Trump doesn't like that. At his press conference, he said, "Oh, the Mexicans cheat, the Canadians cheat," which I thought was kind of rich, coming from the man that we call CFDT 34F, convicted felon Donald Trump, 34 felonies, fraud, double F, complaining about Canadians cheat, Mexicans cheat on the new trade agreement that replaced NAFTA. But he used that line saying, "No, we need something better. America's getting ripped off." That's the line. America's getting ripped off, and it's not gonna go on. We're gonna end it. Now, if you buy that, and you got to take him at his word, which I don't know if that's very smart. You got at least a dozen Nobel laureates who say Donald Trump and tariffs are going to be the ruin of our economy, maybe of global world trade. And then you have Donald Trump saying, the world's problems started with the income tax. America was great when we had tariffs from 1870 to 1913. See, this is the problem. Donald Trump wants to bring us back to the 19th century. 1870 to 1913, we had tariffs, and he's saying that those are the greatest things. And then when the tariffs really kicked in with the Smoot-Hawley Act, what do you think hastened and exacerbated the Great Depression, 1929, 1930? They said, "Oh, when someone came up with the income tax, that was the worst thing for us." No. The income tax was actually, when done correctly, it's fair. An income tax is better than a tariff, which is a flat tax. An income tax is what they call has nothing to do with politics, but they call it a progressive tax, meaning the more you make, the more you pay. The less you make, the less you pay. That's fair. That's a progressive tax. Now, politics has spoiled that with loopholes and whatnot, and now the income tax system you ever seen the income tax code? Loaded with carve-outs and giveaways, and who knows what it says, right? In some ways, it is one of the worst things about our government, but we need the income tax to fund our government. But what does Donald Trump want to do? He wants to get rid of the income tax. And this is his way of thinking. I get rid of the income tax, and we solve the problem of our national debt, tens of trillions of dollars in debt. We solve that by taxing other countries who want to do business with us. Yeah, that's how we do it. Well, easier said than done, and something that you can't do and turn on a dime, it just doesn't happen overnight, right? So I predict This is going to be Donald Trump's justification for the need for a third term. I've gotten us this far in the hole. I need to take us out of it. I mean, it's going to be something like that. So Donald Trump blaming the income tax, saying, hey, we were great when the tariffs were up. 1870 to 1913, that was a golden age. We're going to go back to that. Oh, and guess what? 1870 to 1913, no immigrants. Some, but very few. Black people still suffering from the hangover of slavery. The post-construction era, no full equality. 1870 to 1913. I mean, this is why, really, the underlying reason why Donald Trump wants to go back to 1870 and 1913. Oh, they're giving it to the Native Americans, giving it to the blacks. They had coming in 1924. They put on a quota of zero, which is not a quota. It's like a ban of immigrants from Asia. I mean, that's why the 1965 Immigration Act was so big, because they let us in. They got rid of the racist quotas. But that's the kind of world Donald Trump is comfortable with. Really, essentially, a white supremacist world where whites are, the top dog, and everyone else bows down to us. And he's taken us back. We thought maybe he'd take us back 20 years. No, he's going back at least to 1965, but when he's going back even further to 1870. So if you get the discussion or get his comments during all these news conferences, it's not good. It's not, he's going to stay true to his tariff talk and hold steady. Markets are going to continue to nosedive. And if you are playing the markets, some people do, not me, but if you're actively watching the markets with money on the line, I guess you're going bearish. You're being a short seller. I mean, old saying, take what the market gives you. And the market is saying, this is the market's reaction to the trade war. No good, down, bad. And this is what Donald Trump doesn't get. Because companies are already trying to figure out, what do we do? Donald Trump has maximized uncertainty. Donald Trump is making it hard to run a business. Nike is already saying, if China, which today slapped on a bigger tariff, or a tariff, they matched the tariff that the U.S. is putting on, 34%. Donald Trump said, we're going to put on 50% tariff on top of that if you're going to counter our retaliation. If tariffs are going to go that high, the news reports say, you do the math, 104% tariff. Companies which already moved their factories to China in anticipation for something bad have moved it to Vietnam, and their tariffs are 49%. What companies like Nike are saying, this is from the reports, are saying, hey, if the tariffs are going to dictate who we sell to, who we do business to. And isn't it a shame we're going to be an American company, Nike, which essentially is a multinational company by virtue of where their manufacturing is, but they're going to say, I'm sorry, we won't sell in the United States. We'll sell where we can, and we'll sell the hell of our goods to Asia. I mean, this is why, if you're a businessman, they have that phrase, don't take it personally, it's just business. This is why I say that's BS, because I take it personally. And it's just a ruse for saying we have no morals, no ethics. We just follow the dollar. We just follow profits. We're businessmen, right? That's why business is kind of challenged ethically, morally. But hey, you live your life as a business person, and Donald Trump is a business person. I guess he's got to respect what Nike says. Hey, we're going to sell to China. Too bad Americans can't afford this because their stupid president has put on a 104% tariff on goods manufactured in China coming to the United States. Manufactured by an American company, by the way. And it's probably because Nike and other companies are saying, well, what if we move all our stuff to the United States? Okay. Are our products going to be competitive? Are they going to be as good as? Well, we won't know if as good as Asian products. The Asian products will be banned. We'll be forced to buy American products. But the companies, that doesn't mean you're going to get cheaper prices. Not if the American companies are faced with possible unionization. How about this? How about AI? What kind of products are we going to have if AI is in on the, the assembly line or in the manufacturing? And then this is tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to bring a plant here. And if Donald Trump if it's all based on his whimsy, based on his poor sense or poor grasp of American economic history, who knows? He might change his mind. And then what? A prudent business person would say, I think we got to find new partners. I think we got to go find new consumers somewhere. And that's what China represents to American business people ever since the 70s and 80s. They saw China open up and say, hey, we're there. Kentucky Fried Chicken, Dunkin' Donuts, everyone was going to China, right? It was a market. And now we have Donald Trump and his neo-protectionist ideas, neo-isolationist ideas, and it's upsetting the apple cart. Because look at where we were a week ago before tariffs. We weren't doing bad. Inflation was sort of creeping up. There were some bad signs about the economy, but generally good. Generally good after COVID, after Biden. Biden left us with a recovering economy that now Donald Trump has tanked. And tanked because of his views about tariffs going back to 1870. This is why we got that income tax. He wants to get rid of the income tax, tariff the world. The T in Trump stands for tariff, and that is terrifying. So this is where we are. This is where we are. It's not a good place. Let's see what happens tomorrow. I mean, if you're going down, if it keeps going down, market says this is what people think about your trade war, and how stubborn Donald Trump is, we'll see. But he could say, all right, he could say this, I'm going to put a halt. I'm going to put a halt on this, and then we're going to let people talk. But I don't know. He's kind of not sane, I think. I don't know. Economists smarter than I have said Donald Trump's tariff plans, his trade war, is just dumb and stupid, self-inflicted. And as I said, dozens, or at least more than a dozen Nobel laureates in economics have pretty much said, what are we doing? What are we doing, Donald Trump? And the American public is buying this line, this narrative, saying where Donald Trump says, the United States has been ripped off. We've been ripped off. We're no longer going to get ripped off. Well, the only people getting ripped off are the American consumers. Because remember, tariffs are sales taxes. And he puts a tariff on a country, but the country doesn't pay with their goods coming to this country. The end consumers here pay. That's how tariffs work. And I say this to Asian Americans out there that Donald Trump is messing up with our Asianness. I mean, if you go to I went to the Filipino store the other day and I saw a little bottle of authentic Filipino purple yam, ube. And I'm saying, God, $6 for this? $6 for a jar of ube? And, tariffs. And if they slap on another 17% on top of that, are you going to pay $8 to $10 for a jar of ube just because it's authentic Filipino brand? It's kind of hard to screw off because I don't know. You want to make your authentic Filipino dish. You want to make your authentic pancit, your authentic adobo. Although you can make adobo without authentic Filipino stuff. I'm thinking about halo halo, right? That shaved ice dessert concoction. I mean, you can get some products here in America, but, coconut sport, macapuno, ube. I don't know. It's going to put a crimp in your Asianness. But there are alternatives until we work this out. For example, root beer floats with Ben & Jerry's non-dairy. That could be an answer in the short term. See, short term, right? All the pain's in the short term. But you know what? The pain is really long term. Because I don't know how long it will take for someone to say uncle to Donald Trump. But the damage is done. And undoing that damage is not a short-term thing. It's a generational thing. We are in generational territory to fix this. Slavery. I mean, look at slavery as an economic thing, right? People did it because, forget about the humanity. They were doing it as a labor thing. And that was a big deal. 1840s, 50s, right? Before, right? We had the Civil War. Look at the fallout from that. You can say we're still suffering in terms of the overall impact it had on the negative civil rights of people of color in America. It takes generations to undo real damage that could have been avoided were it not for politics. Could have been avoided if people just were reasonable and saw each other as human beings and tried to move towards some kind of consensus. And that's the real worry I have for our government, that there is no clear majority, which means we'll be lucky to pass legislation for post offices named for heroes and, venerable people in the United States. Meaningful legislation without, any party with more than a 51% majority. I mean, when you're dealing with a 52% majority, it's tough. I mean, Congress right now is trying to figure out if there's a way that they could stop these tariffs. They're illegal. I mean, who can who can insert tariffs into the equation? But Congress has that power, not the executive branch. That's why this is important, because Trump, the executive branch is saying, hey, it's an emergency. We've been getting our asses kicked. We're not going to get ripped off any longer. He's essentially blaming all the deficit, the national debt that we have on the fact that there's been a trade imbalance. That's the sleight of hand. That truly is. That's not why we have a trade imbalance. We have a trade imbalance, or we have a deficit, not because of the trade imbalance. We have a deficit because we've been cutting revenues by giving tax breaks to the rich, by not taxing people appropriately. Now, some people who don't like taxes will say, oh, wow, taxes are too high now. Well, you know what? Taxes at 20, 30% maybe. Look at where taxes were in the 40s and the 50s. Tax rate for people, because it was truly a progressive tax back then. Rich people paid their fair share. Slowly but surely that eroded. You have laws, you have all sorts of things that not compromise, but changed the tax code. So it made taxes less progressive, more regressive. That's why we have, the debt that we have. It's not because of trade, not totally, maybe some. But, even some economists are looking at the tariffs being charged now, like, that equation that Trump used. It's faulty. Some economists are doubting how Trump came up with the numbers, 44, 46% tariff on Vietnam, which sounds just obscene considering what we did to Vietnam. But then they looked at the actual tariffs that Vietnam charges American products coming in. It's like 1-2%. I mean, the reality is sometimes the high tariff rates that you think are coming, aren't relevant because you got to hit certain thresholds and whatnot. The reality is Vietnam isn't charging 47% tariffs on American goods to Vietnam or on goods. I mean, we're going to charge on goods coming from Vietnam here upwards of 40%. The Vietnamese say that they want to negotiate, but this is Trump's version of fun with numbers. Anyway, this is where we are right now. It's not a good place, and in the meantime, friends are feeling screwed, and our enemies. Oh, our enemies? Russia? Russia, no tariffs placed on Russia. Someone asked the Trump people, why is that? Well, we're in this in a negotiation with Ukraine and Russia, and you don't want to put anything on the table there, to upset that. BS. There's a reason why Russia did not get a tariff, and that's because Donald Trump likes Putin. Your buddy, that's how you get treated. Meanwhile, Putin sitting back, just happy that America is falling apart. He didn't have to do a thing. No bombs, no war. Just let Donald Trump do it, and America falls apart. Uncanny. Uncanny, that Putin. Uncanny. I'm telling you, I'm feeling not so great about our country. And reading about how immigrants, not just Asian immigrants, but European immigrants, how they felt about, a loss of their liberal democracy, a loss of their freedom. I mean, we see people disappearing. People who shouldn't be deported. And we have this guy, Abrego Garcia, the Salvadoran who was picked up in Maryland and sent to the Salvadoran prison. No charges. His family has the case. Now they brought a case before a federal judge. A federal judge says, you bring Abrego Garcia back by Monday. By Monday, today. And the Justice Department said no. And they went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court today said they put a hold on any action, possibly to give more time for the court to figure this out. But it's a victory for Donald Trump. And it's sad because this was a single order by John Roberts, Chief Justice, and not a good sign. Because remember, they're co-equal branches, right? The judicial, Congress, executive branch. Executive branch, when it overreaches, we become a monarchy. One man. This is the importance of this rule of law. The rule said you can't deport this guy without due process. And the Trump administration, the Justice Department, even admitted they made a mistake. And according to reports, the guy who raised that issue has been put on indefinite leave. This worries me. Justice Department playing Trump's game, arguing not as an independent agency loyal to the rule of law. They are loyal to the rule of the president, and that is a bad sign. So we'll see if this temporary hold means anything. It means that the justices have some time to come up with a good decision or a better decision, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. I would have liked for someone to just come out and say the lower court, in this case, the judge in Maryland, was right. Where was the due process? It's fairly clear. There was no due process given to this man who wasn't even formally charged. He's just an immigrant who happened to have a Bulls t-shirt and hoodie and a tattoo. There's nothing, no charges against him. And they deported him. Here legally. They deported him. On the hearsay of someone who said, oh, yeah, he was probably part of a gang in New York. He never lived in New York. Now, this is sad. This is sad that the courts didn't back up the lower court. That Roberts and SCOTUS did not back up the lower court. But we'll see when the full court weighs in. And time is of the essence. They haven't heard from this guy since his days in this Salvadoran prison. Doesn't look good. It's not, if you are seen as a person of interest, I just can't imagine the hell he must be living through. All right, I want to mention couple other things. The Hands Off rally. Did you go? If you went to the Hands Off rally, get in touch with me. I'd like to hear what you thought. I couldn't be everywhere. I chose to follow it sort of around the country and to get a national sense. But if you went, tell me how it feels. Because I'll tell you, I saw 30,000 in Boston. That was something. I saw lesser amounts throughout the country. It's like, some in Atlanta. That was easy for CNN to cover because, they're in Atlanta. Some in New York. I didn't see a whole lot of the New York coverage. A little in California. A lot in Seattle. Some in ag communities. So they were saying that there were at least 100, 140 communities throughout the country. It's a very poorly organized, well, all right, I don't want to say poorly because that's a judgment, but it takes a while to organize something like this, and I don't think they had the time. But given what they had, it was good. It wasn't like the Million Man March or that, like the Women's March in Washington a couple years back. But it's got to get to that level if we're going to see something that approximates the kind of people power that was able to oust Ferdinand Marcos in the Philippines. Now, one thing the Philippines had as an advantage, all the marches were Filipino. Now, there are other divisions in the Philippines, like province and language and all that. But it's probably easier to get together 1 million Filipinos for freedom out on the streets than it is to get a coalition of people of various races and ethnicities and mindsets, especially in terms of what are we fighting for, right? Was it the tariffs? Was it Doge? Was it all of the above? So, I mean, it's not easy, but still, they had people there. They didn't get a whole lot of coverage. They got some, but if you were there, contact me. Contact me. My YouTube page, amok.com. Let me know. I'm just curious about if you felt that this is something that is only going to grow. I mean, you got to hope that it is, because that's the only way that it's going to make sense, right? I mean, there's just something about, you can't ignore the people. And maybe, I mean, Trump was out golfing, so being in D.C. didn't make the kind of difference that it could have. 30,000 in Boston. Boston's been picked on because of research and because of the universities there. So that was good. I mean, that was the best coverage that I saw by a local community. The local press, well, you got the Boston Globe, great paper. But hands off. Think it's going to grow? I hope it grows. I hope it grows because maybe it will give people in Congress the courage to take back their power, to speak up and to say no to any number of things. Right now, people are just playing it really coy, except for a handful. Like there were four senators the other day that voted to stop some tariffs to Canada, and maybe it'll be part of legislation that'll go to the House and get rejected in the House, perhaps. But there are people trying to challenge in a number of different bills in the Senate the imposition of the tariffs. Rand Paul. There's a name that is divisive as hell. But on tariffs, his heart's in the right place. And he may be one of those leading the charge. Rand Paul, Don Bacon from Nebraska, Rand Paul's from Kentucky. Susan Collins, who I've had my beefs with in the past. Susan Collins from Maine, she was voting against the tariffs. I believe Lisa Murkowski, Alaska, I think she was against it. Oh, and McConnell. They had four votes, 4 or 5 votes on the Canada issue. And I think slowly but surely, if the economy goes down, Republicans are going to have to make a hard decision. If they know that's what people are voting for, they want lower prices, they want a better economy, and now they see the economy going down, they have to stand up to Donald Trump. They have to, right? They have to say, hey, I'm not a part of that. And that's when you'll probably see Donald Trump back off and say, oh, we'll pause them. So let negotiations take hold. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, here's the thing. No one knows what's going to happen because it's never quite articulated well enough by Donald Trump. And certainly people who are much smarter than me and Trump are looking at this and saying this is not good. And that should worry everyone. What we can say, however, is that what the heck is Duke doing losing? When you're ahead by like double digits and then you lose it in the second half, I mean, it's just I guess I've been partial to Duke all these many years. I didn't go to Duke, but and Harvard's had a pretty good basketball team. Oh, did you see Allison Feaster? Allison Feaster, the Harvard women's basketball star of I think the 10s, like 10 years ago. Her daughter, Sarah Strong. Man. No, is that her daughter? Sarah Strong? One of the Duke or the Connecticut UConn guys, UConn girls are. Oh no, it's the other one. It's not Sarah Strong. It's and I forgot her name. But she was she outdid Paige Beckers yesterday. I like women's basketball. I've always liked women's basketball, women's soccer, women's basketball. Gino Auriemma, man. Wow, what a guy. So UConn, the Husky women's basketball. Gotta love them. AZ was her name, right? That's Allison Feaster's daughter. She was named for, AZ was named after Jennifer AZ. Right? Stanford. Anyway, Stanford had some great teams all those years. UConn winning the women, that was predictable. That was good. But Duke losing. I don't know why. And now tonight we have Houston, which, I have a soft spot in my heart for Houston because I worked there a couple of years. Loved it. Except for its mugginess. But I went through a growth period in Houston. I will say this about Houston. You got some older guys there. And this is always going to be true. It's true in youth league, rec league, as you move up. It's true in college. Older is better. I mean, unless you're truly gifted, right? And there's some who are truly gifted, young players. But when you go up against an older person, at that stage, 18 to 21, and you're playing a 23-year-old, 24-year-old, even a 21-year-old. Seniors, a good senior will put it to a gifted freshman just because the gifted freshman hasn't grown out yet. And maybe that was a problem with Cooper Flagg because he had one shot at the end where he could have tied. He missed. He was short. Had a man on him. So anyway, so Duke is gone, and now it's Houston and Florida. Florida, just make your shots, right? It's a miss or make game. Make your shots. I think Florida showed tremendous resilience, in its victory over Auburn, and I like Houston too. They're scrappy as hell, and I like ugly, scrappy teams. And as I said that, I was watching the Warrior game yesterday, and they lost to the Houston Rockets, who also played an ugly, scrappy game and beat the Warriors. Of course, it doesn't hurt if Stephen Curry scores 3 points. He was tired. That's all I can say. He was probably just tired after the incredible run that the Warriors had the last week. By Sunday, I think he was tapped out. And then Moody didn't make up for it. And every time they needed to make a run, I was just thinking about getting a player like Jimmy Butler. Older player. Pro. Stabilized or added to the Draymond Green, Stephen Curry thing. But I will say this about the Warriors. I just hope Draymond Green is in a better mood. Because when he is not mindful, he'll screw up the team with his antics. I know Jordan Poole was not all that, but he was a good shooter, could create his own shot. And because of Draymond, Jordan Poole could have been that other shooter. But water under the bridge. I'll water under the bridge. All right, so that's my sports take. I vote Houston tonight. Houston. We'll see what happens. All right, that's it. I just wanted to spout off about the tariffs. I think it's going to hurt if there's no pullback or no pull out. Oh, and we know that Trump loves to pull out, right? All right, that's it for me. We end with a little loving kindness because love rules all. It does. I don't say that sarcastically. I mean that. I believe in meditation, which is why I'm so much nicer and less amok now than I have been in the past. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time, Mahal Kita.